Good morning, Grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. Blender Ed, Blender HD, if you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Friday, February 10th, and we'll be talking a little bit more about bankroll management. I mean, I've gotten some questions in. Get your questions in. If you want a topic covered for the show, email questions@theoryofdfs.com. You'll see it on the bottom scroll right there. I let some questions, rack up, and when I see certain of the same ones over and over again, I try to cover them on the show. Of course, you could participate in the YouTube chat. As always, ask whatever you want, talk amongst yourselves, whatever you'd like. Good morning to Wataz, Suki Singh, Bart B, DFIC, Daniel Hutchings, Kickstart. Give me those thummy thumbs. You know how much I like the thummy thumbs. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Talking about bankroll, I just saw Daniel, Dirty Tenor, posted but what's on his Twitter, Nerdy Tenor, a poll. Maybe we could get the poll. Let's see if we can get the poll right. Okay, get my messages out of there. So what he just tweeted this out. Did a huge bankroll sim for his 2022 DK MLB season, and it's 211 slates and 1,111 contests. If the average simulated return was X, what was one standard deviation? Okay, so what does that mean? So like simulating the contests out over and over and over again, right? Simulated return, not actual return. The actual simulated return was X. What's one standard deviation over, right? What fills that 68% chunk? So what was one standard deviation? Is it 0.3x, 0.7x, 1.5x, or 3x? What should we go for? What's the one standard deviation? So like if a simulated return was let's say simulated return, I'm assuming simulated return of a monetary amount. Average simulated return was what? $20,000 or something. I believe that's what we're talking about, like a raw money return. What was one standard deviation? Up or down, I guess, from that? I would have to say it's larger, right? What's one standard deviation for MLB especially? I mean, if I'm getting this question, if I'm understanding this question right, that we're not talking about like an ROI number, ROI percentage. Maybe Daniel could confirm in the YouTube chat. No, Peter Corey, it's not Fighting Friday. I'm sorry. The orange background on the thumbnail and the description. No, I'm not playing MMA tomorrow. I'm going to RotoGrinders is having a big Super Bowl every year. Well, they didn't do it the past 2 years, but whatever. Whole get together, everyone in RotoGrinders in Nashville. So I'll be driving down. I'll be participating in the festivities down there. So we'll not be playing the MMA slate. And my policy is if I'm not playing the slate, what type of advice can I give you, right? If I'm not invested in the result, right? I'm not doing the same amount of work. So I have no idea. Should be a good main event, right? Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev. I want to see it. I want to watch it. But no, I won't be covering that. Okay, it's in raw dollars, Daniel Hutchins says. So what one standard deviation? The whole thing? This is we're talking about one standard deviation up and one standard deviation down. So we're talking about if for what let's call it $100, right? To make it easy. Right? So if the average simulated return was $100, what was one standard deviation? Is it $300? Right? Which means it goes anywhere from 400 to minus 200. Right? Is it $150? Right? So that's $250 to minus $50. If it's at 0.7x, so that would be what? $70 in each direction? Or $30 in each direction. It's not, I don't think it's 30 or 7. I mean, to me, I'm thinking it should be 3x. for 211 slates and 1,111 contests. I think I always think that the variance in DFS is way higher, right? So I'm gonna guess 3x, right? I'm gonna guess 3x, which out of 14 votes is coming through at 42.9% right now. Maybe Daniel can tell us the right answer on the show. On the show, he could cheat the poll. I have to think that you could simulate 211 slates, and with how top heavy GPPs are, that you could lose money. That easily. I mean, just like if your average simulated return was, let's say, $50,000, I could see that, one standard deviation is $200,000 or minus $150,000. That's what I think. I don't know. Maybe Nerdy Tenor has a better process. I maybe it's 1.5x. I mean, I can't see it's 0.3x. That narrow? If at least if I'm understanding this right. There's so much variance in DFS. It's ridiculous. In GPPs especially. If this was cash games, this would be a different story. Cash games, I could see it being 0.3x. Yeah, that I could see that. GPP is almost, I can't possibly, I would think it'd be higher than this. I would think you could tell me 5x, and maybe that's the right answer. That's at least from my perspective. But a nice little poll here. Go to twitter.com/nerdytenor. Go follow him. Check out the poll. They had 23 hours left. No one's waiting 23 hours for the answer. I'm going to forget I'm going to forget about the poll by that point. Okay. But this is the highlight of, like, when people talk about bankroll management. To me, bankroll management is about surviving variance. Okay? That's really what it is. Surviving variance. And there's the amount of variance in DFS is ridiculous, is absurd. Especially if you play GPPs. Especially. I mean, and the top-heavy stuff. The large field top-heavy stuff. The variance is ridiculous. Oh, we're getting more poll results in. The variance is ridiculous. So when people are like they're playing 10%, 20% of their bankroll, I think that's nuts. I think it's nuts. Unless you have small bankrolls and you don't mind replenishing them. I just don't know how you could throw in that big of a percentage of your bankroll and be able to survive variance. Because you could have an edge. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. Let's say there was a 100-sided die, okay? 100, so let's just say there was. I don't know if there is. I don't think there is a 100-sided die. Maybe it has to be a big one to have all those sides. 100-sided die. If you guess the right number on a 100-sided die, what's the proper odds that you should be getting? 100 to 1, right? Right? That's what you should be getting paid, 100 to 1. Let's say you're getting 1,000 to 1. You're able to place a dollar bet or whatever bet. You get the right 83. Let's see, what does it come up? Oh, it came up 17, right? Let's say you were getting paid 1,000 to 1. Big edge. That's humongous edge, right? On average, every 100 rolls of $1, right? You'd lose $99, and then one you'd win 1,000, and you'd be up $900 or so, right? Huge edge, humongous edge. But let's say your bankroll was only $2, and the minimum bet you could only bet $1. Does it matter how big your edge is? What's the likelihood of you going broke, quote unquote, assuming that you're not replenishing your bankroll, and you get a bankroll of $2? I mean, do the math, right? 99% of the time you get it wrong on the first roll. 99% of the time you get it wrong on the second roll. Right? So multiply that. Right? There you go. There's the likelihood of you going broke. Right? What's the likelihood of not going broke? Well, 1% you're going to be right, and 1% for the next roll also. Okay? Because you only have $2. Now, let's say you had $10. Well, now you get 10 rolls. The likelihood of you going broke is still absurdly high, right? You're going to get it wrong 99% of the time on each roll, 10 times in a row. And then you're out of money. $10, you're gone. Let's say you had $20. Okay. As your bankroll gets bigger, right? In this scenario that you could bet $1. You could bet more if you want, right? You could bet. I have $20. I'm going to bet $20. Because look how big of an edge I have. Yeah, but once your $20 is gone, it doesn't matter. It could pay 1,000,000 to 1. You have $0. It doesn't matter anymore. But let's say you had $100,000. Would you bet $100,000 on one roll of this? No. The chances of you going broke is 99%. Right, because you only have that one bet of 100,000. Yeah. If you get paid 1,000 to 1 on it, yeah, it's great. So if you have $100,000, how about 50,000 a roll? Well, now you're still 2 rolls. The chances of you going broke is still 98%. Assuming that you could roll this die as often as you want, right? Time every 5 seconds or something if you want. What's the proper amount that you should be betting? You could bet $1. You have $100,000. You can roll this die every 5 seconds. Feel free to just bet $1. What's the chances of you going broke now with $100,000 and you're betting $1 on a die roll that's 100 to 1 to happen, but you're getting paid 1,000 to 1? The chances of you going broke are absurdly small. I mean, unreasonably small. Like it will virtually never happen. Same bet, same edge. But because we take GPPs or something where it's like maybe you have an edge where you're getting paid, 500 to 1, 1,000. You're getting paid 5,000 to 1 on a 1,000 to 1 occurrence. Like that's what GPPs are like. But you have to survive 1,000 occurrences on average. And I'm not saying that you're going to bink a GPP once in every 1,000. There may be stretches where you go 3,000 without a first place win or something like that. So bankroll management is about, 1, having an edge. We talked about that yesterday. If you do not have an edge, there's no bankroll management that can save you. There's nothing. I'm a negative 17% player. How much percent of my bankroll? 0%. You shouldn't be playing, right? If you're not a profitable player, there's no bankroll management thing that'll make you profitable. It won't. It's just a matter of, do you want to lose slow, right? How fast do you want to lose? But if you do have an edge, that's the first thing, having an edge, being profitable, playing profitably. Number 2 is about surviving the variance. Now, when we talk about cash games, right, double ups, head-to-heads, the variance is much lower. You don't have to survive as much variance. You still have to survive variance. But since it's lower variance and the smaller a sample size you need to have your theoretical your actual ROI match your true ROI, you could play more of your bankroll. Assuming you have an edge, assuming you're profitable. Number 1, people don't talk about. People don't think about. Right? They ask questions like, what percentage of my bankroll? I go, well, what's your edge? And they go, I don't know. Well, if you don't have an edge, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't have an edge. And then your edge may be different in different sports. We talked about that yesterday. Different types of slates. Well, I'm good at this sport, but bad at that sport. So you know what you do in the good sport? You play X, and in the bad sport, you play nothing. You don't play anything. You don't play it at all. Do you have an edge? No. Can you play players worse than you in that sport, even though that's not your best sport? Can you have an edge over other opponents? If you can, then now we're starting to talk about how much bankroll. Now we're starting to talk about that. We've seen in the past. It's 2023, and people still talk about this 80-20 bankroll. 80%, 20%. People almost parrot this as if they don't understand. They just, because that's what other people say. They don't get it. Or people are trying to explain it correctly, but it's not none of this is one size fits all. How much? 80% cash, 20% GPP. Well, where does that come from? Well, that comes from a long time ago. A long time ago. We're talking about 10 plus years ago. Most of these sites didn't have large field GPPs. Okay? Most sites didn't. A lot of it was just cash, just double ups, triple ups, quintuple ups, head to heads. It was mostly that. Okay? That's what was called cash games. It's a poker. It comes from poker. Cash games and tournaments. Right? Those are poker terms. GPP, DFS turned it into GPPs because it was a guaranteed prize pool. Because they started doing those where it's like, oh, it's a lot of spots, but there's a guaranteed prize pool, and there was be a lot of overlay in those contests. This is 10 plus years ago. So the 80-20 rule came in because people were playing everything. Like back then, if you had an edge, you had an edge in everything. Right? It was much easier. This is pre-publicly available projections, pre-people knowing anything of what they're doing. I mean, you could play NBA as long as you knew who was in. You probably were profitable. Because people were playing guys that were injured, that were out, that were resting. You'd have a 21% owned player that was on the injury report 3 hours ago that wasn't going to play. And people played him. Right? So you had an edge no matter what you played, practically. So in order to survive variance, it's like, well, 80% of my bankroll will go towards cash games, which is much lower variance. And 20% will go towards the, the GPPs, the larger field stuff, the, tournaments that can pay out a good amount of money. And if I have like a 10% ROI in my cash games, like 80% of my bankroll is going towards that. So I'm building that up and using that profit to spend on the 20% that I'm playing in GPP. That's where it comes from, the 80-20. It's to smooth out the variance of your play. You could play 100% of your bankroll in GPP. You could. That you allocate on a slate. But the percentage of your overall bankroll would have to be smaller to survive that variance. So in order to help you survive variance and make a little bit of money along the way, that's where the 80%, 20%, the 80-20 bankroll came in. Some people at 75-25, 85-15, whatever, somewhere around there. Like I said, there's no one-size-fits-all solution. And it's not a solution because what does that not take into account? 80-20. It doesn't take into account the number one thing is what is your edge? Imagine me telling someone that you should play 80% in cash and 20. What do I do this coming MLB season? 80% in cash, 20% in GPP. Okay, great. It's like, well, you're going to play 80. Let's say you're playing $100 a night. $80 in cash and $20 in GPP. Like, do you have an edge in cash? Who are you playing in cash? Do you have an edge above the rake? This is above the rake. Are you profitable? I don't know. Well, are you profitable in GPP? I don't know. Like, then these numbers don't matter. If you're not a profitable player, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. And let's say, oh, I'm a good GPP player, but I really don't play cash. So why are you paying 80% of your bankroll and allocation on a slate in cash? Why? Do you have a positive return long term in that? Yes or no? If it's no, then why are you doing it? Or is it your contest selection? I'm going to play $80 out of my 100 in cash and play head-to-heads against McLovin. Like, why would you do that? Like, there's no edge. Even if you play just the straight up, RotoGrinders optimal, the bat optimal median lineup. There may be so many people in your contest or in your head-to-heads that are playing a lineup that's a 2v2 off of that or something very close, then neither of you beat the rake. And you're going to play 80% of your bankroll allocation in that? You're losing money. You're losing money. If you could allocate your $80, your 80% or whatever, against people where you have an edge over the rake, then sure, okay. Then I get it. Maybe it's enough of an edge that you don't even play GPPs, right? You don't have to play GPPs. You don't have to play cash games. The same thing applies to the 20% part of your bankroll, the allocation on the slate also. What GPP should I play? The ones that you have an edge in. Do I play small field? Do I play large field? Do I play this? Do I play 3 max? Well, what's your edge? I don't know. Well, then there's no answer. Then there's no answer for the question. Because if it's negative, then the answer should be 0. Simply 0. Right? If you don't have an edge, you shouldn't be playing. Unless you're playing for entertainment. It's like, oh, should I play 1 large field entry, 1 small field? Where's your edge? Like, there's no correct answer to that question. Well, what would you do? And this is what ends up happening. People ask me what I do, which is useless. Asking me what I do is useless. Okay? Absolutely and unequivocally useless. Like I said yesterday, you know what I do? I already signed up for head-to-heads in soccer DFS for tomorrow's EPL slate. It's a 5-game slate, 10 in the morning, Eastern. I'll be making those lineups, and then I'll be driving to Nashville. Well, what do you do there? Well, I play a heavy amount of, I play 90 plus % in cash and 10% in GPP in soccer DFS. Oh, that's what I'm going to do because that's what you do. Yeah. What's your edge in soccer DFS? Well, I've never played soccer DFS. So what the hell are you doing what I do? What is your edge? There are other people that are in golf. They do X. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that in golf because I don't have an edge in golf. So it doesn't matter what do I do? It also depends on how much percentage of your bankroll are you playing on a slate in the first place. I'm going to play 20% of my bankroll. Maybe you should play more cash games. Good luck surviving variance if you're playing 20% of your bankroll in large field GPPs every slate. You'll probably be broke by the end of this video, right? Or something. I mean, by the end of the month by doing that. The likelihood of you surviving variance is very low. But if you have a return in cash games, sure, then if you want to play 20%, I mean, then hopefully a heavy amount of it is in cash games. Even then, your risk of ruin is way too high. But asking what someone else does what's their edge? What do you do in MMA? It's like MMA, I don't play. Like people ask me, I don't play MMA cash games. Typically. And maybe every once in a while. Oh, why don't you play? You don't play cash games in MMA, but you do in NFL. Yeah, in NFL, there's a lot of soft money in NFL. It's the most casual sport, right? There's still plenty of good players. There's still plenty of dead money in there. So I don't mind playing a heavier amount on FanDuel, DraftKings, and cash games. And although there's a huge edge in the Millie Maker, it's just very hard to realize that edge. So a lot of times I'm focusing on the SPY, the $100 SPY, the $150 power sweep, those types of contests. I may throw those lineups into the Millie because they're still plus EV, even from a min cash perspective. That's how soft the Millie Maker is. Well, I'm going to do what you do. It's like, well, do you have an edge in the contest that I'm playing? I don't know. Though if you don't know, then don't do it. It doesn't matter what I do. There was one season in NBA that I pretty much just played cash games on both sites, and I just ran the optimal. And I made 20, 25 grand just doing that. Well, should I do that? I mean, you can. Do you have an edge? That's the first thing you should do. Put your money where your biggest edges are. That's it. Welcome to gambling. Welcome to being an advantage player. Right? If you're an advantage player, like in casinos, put your money to where your biggest edges are. My biggest edge may not be your biggest edge. Your biggest edge I may be horrible at. I mean, where is it? I've explained before about, the triple up 3-man, 5-man exploit in sports where a lot of people are playing like the aggregate optimal, like you could predict their lineups very easily. And they make the mistake because of their volume of playing that lineup, which would be fine in head-to-heads and double-ups. is suboptimal in 3x and 5x type contests. So I exploit that by playing as combinatorically different lineup with the highest projection against them. And my lineups have immense EV. Well, can I do that? Yeah, you can. Do you have an edge? Do you know what you're doing? Right? If you know what you're doing, then do it. There's an edge there. Too many people do it, then there's no more edge anymore, right? Everyone's trying to do that, and next thing you know, every lineup is equal EV, and you're all losing money to the rake. Right? People are they get attached to like 80 20. I'm going to put 80% and 20. Like there's a plan. Like there's like if what is the plan? I'm gonna look on the DFS pregame show. I'm gonna go to RotoGrinders. You know, rotogrinders.com. I'm gonna sign up for the combo premium subscription. Get all the sports, get all the ownership numbers and the projections and all the everything, all the gridiron IQ, the slate IQ, all the simulation tools, all everything like that. You could do that by clicking on the link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. I'm going to get all that. And then they're going to give me the plan. Right? So I enter this contest and I enter that. And if I just did this, then I make money like they make money. I wish it existed. Like if there was a plan like that, I would never tell you. I wouldn't be here. Right? Right? If there was something that simple, I'd be recruiting friends and getting commission from their accounts, right? I'd say, like, Lou, dude, you don't even have to know anything about sports. Here's this plan. You just go this plan, and you make 8% on your money or something, whatever. Just do that, right? I get my wife. My wife opens up an account, right? Her friend and her husband and yeah, I would love that. That doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. There's no plan. What entries and what contests? There's no plan. What are you strong at? I mean, we see that in any sport. But we can take NFL since it's, just recently. That people are just like, okay, I'm going to aggregate projections and here's my cash line, double up lineup. We have some weeks where no matter what you look at, what projection set you look at, the optimal lineup is essentially the same. Like, there's going to be so much duplication, it's ridiculous. Right? There's some mispriced running back. There's a wide receiver at 3,300 he's now going to be the number one receiver on their team. The defense, there's a $2,300 defense that's mispriced, right? Because the opposite quarterback is out now, and, we didn't know that till Monday. And next thing you know, it's like, essentially you're playing this lineup, or maybe the 2v2 off of that. Maybe. Then everyone just rushes into like the head-to-head lobby and everyone plays and play like you go into your contest, you play $1,000 in volume in cash games, right? You're playing 150 head-to-heads, and 128 of them are ties. And on DraftKings, you get your rake back. On FanDuel, you do if you email them in. So it doesn't hurt you. But it's like, what's the purpose of that? $1,000 in volume. 1,800 of it against people that it's just I'm gonna tie against. So how much volume did you really play? You didn't play much. You really didn't play much. What was your edge? Didn't exist. Your edge didn't exist at all. It wasn't negative, but it didn't exist. On a slate like that, we have an NBA slate. This guy's out, that guy's out. You run the RotoGrinders median optimal, it's X. You aggregate, you look elsewhere, and it seems to be the same. It seems to be obvious. You go, oh, it's obvious. I'm going to play a lot in cash games. Like, no, there's no edge. You know what you should be doing? You should probably be playing 3Xs and 5Xs and hopefully going against duplicated lineups like that. That's where the edge would be. To not play head-to-heads. To not play these games. To play GPPs on those days. Right? On the days where, like, wow, cash lineup tough. Yeah, there's not much value out there. I got to make choices between these 3v3s and 4v4s. Oh, this sucks, right? This sucks for cash. No, it's great for cash. That's where your edge is. GPPs, it would be poor. People think the opposite. Most people think the opposite. Exploit them. Don't be one of those people. When it's really easy to build a cash lineup, really easy, you're like, wow, this is really straightforward. People get that warm feeling going, oh my God, this was so easy. Like, I'm just going to play a lot in cash because it was so easy. Well, if you could find the people that make absurd mistakes because it seems so obvious to you, sure. But how many of those people exist? If you could find those people, yeah, play a $500 head-to-head against some schmuck that isn't going to play the lineup that's going to be duped 284 times and double up. Yeah, if you can, that'd be great. But most of the time, you can't. So on the slates like that, that's a horrible cash slate. It's a horrible cash game slate, right? When half the field is playing a lineup or 2v2 off of it. Those are good for GPPs because those guys are going to be way overowned. Those combinations are going to be way overowned. It's going to make you feel like in cash, it makes you feel good that like, oh, this was so easy to do. And then in GPP, it's like, I don't want to play GPPs because there's so much value here. How do I fade some of these people? Right? I don't have to fade them all. It seems like it's so obvious that this is the lineup. Like, man, maybe I do a 2v2, but how do I fade 3 of these guys or 4 of these guys? And you feel uncomfortable playing GPPs. It should be the opposite. From an edge perspective. Because in cash games, what ends up happening is that, yes, everyone is playing pretty much the median optimal, and no one's making money. Right? No one's really losing money, but no one's like losing a lot, but no one's beating the rake anymore. So what's the purpose? What are you doing? There's no edge. In GPPs, what's going to happen is that people are going to be like, well, I got to play 6 of these guys. Right? So the leverage available on those slates is immense. Like, dude, as long as I don't have this combination, like I could play God knows how many lineups. This is a great GPP slate. You can't be scared to fade a couple of these people that seem unfadeable. Just got to do that. It doesn't feel comfortable. If it doesn't feel comfortable, that means it's a good slate for it. That means you can have an edge. And think the vice versa. On a slate where it feels like you can't make a valid cash lineup, it seems like, where's the value? This guy seems overpriced. It seems like everyone's priced well, efficiently. You go, now I'm going to play GPP. No, it's the opposite. On a slate where you can make like 10 different cash lineups, and they all seem pretty decent to me. You run it through lineup HQ, and the difference between the top optimal and the 20th optimal is less than a point, and it shares like 4 different players in all these different spots. Now you have an edge in cash. Now you're not going to get as much duplication in cash games. That's where they're at. Now you can beat the game over the rake. GPPs is going to be tougher. Why? Because since the pricing is so much more efficient, as long as you spend all your salary, I mean, pretty much the lineup differences between, most of the lineups in the contest isn't going to be much. Where do you find leverage where everyone's price is efficient and everyone's ownership is fairly efficient? You can't. Like, I could randomly select a 50K lineup and it'd be just within the rake of any other 50K lineup. That would be a poor GPP slate. It feels like, because I can play so many different combinations. So it feels like I could play 100 lineups. Yeah, but 100 lineups at a negative EV. And in cash games, it's like, I don't feel comfortable because there's so many choices for me to make. Well, that's where the edge is. Okay? You have to think in that direction. That 80-20. What did I mention any percentages in any of that? No. The slate coming up, where is your edge? And how much money do you want to allocate towards those edges? That's what you should be thinking, not 80% in cash, 20% in GPP. As if there's this like one size fits all or type of thing. MLB will be coming up. There'll be some slates where I may play a heavy amount of double ups. There may be some slates where I play none. There may be some slates where I play large field GPPs. There's some slates where I may only play small field GPPs. There may be some slates where I'm going heavy into triple ups and quintuple ups. There's some slates where I'd be like, I want to play as many head-to-heads as possible. You go like what does that mean, Jordan? Is that what I should do? No, identifying where the edges are on a slate. And the opponents, because right, that's the number one thing that affects your profitability, your opponents. On these MMA cards, on the larger MMA cards, I take a look. I don't play MMA cash much, but I do take a look at the lobby. And if I could find some schmuckier people in there, in the head-to-heads or whatever, maybe I do play some cash. If I feel like the cash lineup that I am playing is the best cash lineup and it's going to be different from other people's lineups. Right? Or sometimes I use that as my single entry. A lot of times in MMA, if I were to play 3x, 5x's and head-to-heads and a bevy of head-to-heads, I would essentially play an unstacked main event lineup. That's all you really need to do, because a lot of people, they stack the main event. That makes sense in a lot of occasions. And then they build the other 4 spots from there. And then me, I just go, let me pick the winner from the main event and then build the other way. Have some upside there. Something like that. You could just do that. There's an edge in that. If you could do that well. If you can't do it well, then you're negative, and it doesn't matter what your bankroll management is. So I want to dispel these myths, these 80-20. How much should I have here? And people ask, what percentage of my bankroll? I get that question so often. I have $2,000. How much percent of my bankroll? It's like, you're not asking the right questions. The first question asked is, what is your edge? Where does the money come from? Right? We talked about that a month ago. Where does the money come from? Where is your edge? Is your edge in every sport going to be the same? No. On every slate, is it going to be the same? No. Do you even know that you have an edge? I mean, that's the number one thing. How long have you been playing? I've been playing for 4 years. Okay. Do you play NBA often? Yeah. I played for 4 years. Okay. What's your ROI in GPPs? -7%. So I go, okay. So what do you want to know? How to lose slower? I mean, if you played for 4 years and you have a -7% ROI, then it's quite possible you have no edge. You're negative. You're negative, dude. You're negative. Well, how much percentage of my bankroll? You know what the real number is? 0. The real number is to stop playing DFS. I mean, that's the answer. Unless you're trying to get better, but then you're spending money to get better. Cash games, it's easier that your actual ROI is closer to your true ROI. You tell me, I have a 3% ROI in cash games over 5 years. I'm like, okay, well, now you have a number to attach to it. Do you have that? Do you have that spread out over different slate sizes and everything? Do you know any of that? No. Well, look into it. Maybe it turns out that most of your profit in cash games comes from larger slates and not smaller slates. Right? Maybe it turns out that you're making money in these spots, this sport over that sport. And you go, oh yeah, I looked it up, and it seems like large NFL slates, I have a healthy ROI. And the small NHL slates, I'm actually negative over a large enough sample size. And so you know what that tells you? Put more money into large slate NFL and don't play NHL small slate anymore. And the money that you would be playing in NHL small slate, take it away and put it into the NFL large slate, right? I'm good at small MLB slates, but the large MLB slates I'm not as good with. I'm profitable in both. One I'm 2%, and the other I'm 7%. It's like, well, do you play the same amount on all those slates? I go, yeah, I do. Well, now you know not to. Now you know that on the smaller slates, play more. And on the larger slates, play less. Same amount of allocation over, long run. If you're like, oh, I play $500 a slate no matter what it is. It's like maybe you should play $700 on the small slates and $300 on the large slates then. Because apparently you play better over a large sample size. You have to think in those terms. Where is your edge? What is it? How do you measure that? Then you could figure out what your bankroll allocation should be on a slate. Then you could figure out how much percent of your bankroll that you play on a slate. Do I play 3%? Do I play 7%? Do I play 1%? People want this correct number that doesn't exist. Let's say you have a 700 million percent edge in this. You should be playing 90% of your bankroll. Do you have that? No. So then you shouldn't be playing 90% of your bankroll. I mean, like, what is your edge? My edge is going to be different from your edge. Typically, I don't play small slates. Not because I'm bad at them. It's because I have a bigger edge in larger slates. So you know what I do? I play more in larger slates. They don't play the small slates. And that's the reason. It's not that, oh, well, why don't you play everything? I mean, I can. But then I would have to devote more percentage of my bankroll in order to do that. And being that I'm typically on the conservative side, my attitude is that if there's an 12-game MLB slate, but there's a 3-game night slate out of that, I typically don't play the 3-game night slate. The money that I would have played in the 3-game night slate is in the main slate instead of splitting that up. That's the difference, because I have a bigger edge in the main slate than I do in the night slate. That's the reason. If I want to keep to my bankroll management limits, percentage of my bankroll, playing these contests, then that's what I need to do. How much you playing on this versus that? For like people, MMA, I don't play the captain mode. People ask me about that with the UFC. You playing captain mode contests? That's the televised. Typically, it's the last 9 fights, last 8 fights with the captain, similar to Showdown. I go, no. He said, why? You don't think you could win those? I go, no, I think I could win those. But I'd rather play $4,000. If I'm going to allocate $4,000 to this MMA slate, I'd rather all $4,000 be in the classic, be in the main MMA contest, rather than $3,200 in the main and $800 in captain mode, right? That's the reason, because I have more of an edge in the classic. That's it. That's the only reason. Well, why don't you just put an extra 1,000? Well, then now I'm past my percentage bankroll limit. Right? Now I'm past it. I'm maxing out where I have the biggest edges, while still keeping within a certain percentage of my bankroll, so my risk of ruin is very low. And I tend to be more conservative than most DFS players. I think I'm correctly conservative. I think most DFS players are nuts. I think even nerdy, like Nelson Adcock, he plays, he did at PGA. He's run like bankroll sims or whatever like that, and it's quite likely. It's quite likely. It's probably overwhelmingly likely that the top DFS players that you see today are only here due to survivorship bias. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying that if there were 10 of those types of people, same skill level, playing at their bankroll, the percentage of bankroll that they play at, 5 go broke, 6 go broke, 7 go broke in the process. 3 don't, 7 do, and we just see that we're now just seeing the 3 that didn't. Out of 100, 70 went broke. Same skill level, same exact skill level. 70 they went broke in 2019. And we have 2 more that will go broke in 2020, right? What we see now is the 30 that are left. Same skill level. It's more likely like that. But you could be the greatest player if you The variance is so high, and if you're risking so much large percentage of bankroll, it's just inevitable that your likelihood of going broke is going to be very, very likely. Me, I go in the other direction. I probably give it up money. Probably I could have been a little bit more aggressive, have more money in my bankroll. But my risk of ruin is very low. Daniel Hutchings says, one thing that my bankroll sims do not capture is the fact that I adjust my volume based on how I'm doing. Basically what Kelly would tell you to do. But many high players don't seem to do this. That's correct. They don't. Why do you think I'm concerned? I don't think that I'm incorrectly conservative in most cases. Playing 1 or sub 1% of my bankroll on a slate. Even in the sports that I'm good at. If I can't get good action, why? I don't get it. Why would I be playing $500 head-to-heads against Saramek in soccer? I can, but why? So there's some Saturdays where it's like, I've no problem if there was action available to play $10,000 a slate in cash games on DraftKings, in soccer, on EPL, or Champions League. But I'm not going to fill up $10,000 and have it be, Redcoat, Saramek, and Pew, and Moneyball, and the regs. Fear My Turtle here at RotoGrinders. Why? Yeah, I could fill up 10,000 if I wanted to, but there's no edge in that. So sometimes I'm only playing $800 on a Saturday EPL slate, even though I'm willing to allocate up to $10,000. But some people, I see a lot of defenses like, nope, they fill up 10,000. Who cares? I think that's wrong. I think that's incorrect. If you don't have an edge, why would I be on FanDuel playing head-to-heads against love bases in baseball and MLB? Why? Because they're there? They auto match? It seems stupid. You're both losing to the rake. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. Just that you can't be more. That even the rake up there is like what, 6% or something. I don't think you could be. I don't think there's enough of an edge. You both lose. Daniel says, got to grind those DK rewards though. Yeah, you got to grind. You got to grind your tier credits or whatever the hell they're doing. I got my I chose my Onyx Elite reward. Right, I got 1 credit. I thought it was an easy choice. I got the Apple stuff. Right. What else am I doing? Do I need a grill? Do I need grilling equipment? No. Do I need a watch? I don't wear any jewelry. I don't care about a watch. A luxury watch. No, unless I'm selling it. There's some trip in there. If I wanted, a trip to go see Hamilton in New York. I've seen Hamilton here. I came from New York. I don't need that. There's really nothing there. There's nothing. Hey, I don't mind the apples. I'll take the Apple Watch. My wife she'll take the new Apple Watch, right? She'll get an upgraded phone. Okay, so she can take that, right? The iPad. I don't know maybe give to I don't know. We have cousins, kids. We could probably give the iPad to someone. I typically don't use an iPad. And the laptop I could use, right? So I have a desktop here. So I could be at the poker room and make my MLB lineups. So I could have a nice MacBook Air to do that. So that's what I'm getting with my Onyx Elite tier. Some people get the 3 credit stuff. They're going to St. Andrews. They're going to the Super Bowl or whatever. Yeah, good for them. At that point, I just get stuff so I could sell on eBay, right? Just give me the money. Just give me the money. I don't need any of these gifts. Just give me the money. I so much DraftKings stuff is ridiculous. I got a Yeti cooler with the DraftKings logo on it. When am I ever going to use that? The hell am I ever? Where am I going? I got a refrigerator. What do I need a cooler for? I guess whatever it is. I typically all those rewards type of stuff. I just like it. Here, I just send the link to my wife, and he goes, "Is there anything that you want?" Okay, there you go. There it is. Because that's the first rule of DFS. Remember, don't worry about the 80-20 bankroll. Don't worry about it. The first rule of DFS is the first time that you win a significant amount of money, you bribe your significant other. That is the first rule of DFS. You should do that before all else. Even if you get lucky, even if you got lucky and you won 15 grand or something, you buy her or him or whatever, buy them something for $500 to let you build lineups forever. Right now it's lineup building. It's time to build the lineups. You got an out, but you can make it up. I'll give you all the time in the world. Okay, so if you got any more questions, if you got any questions about bankroll management, if you got any questions about variance and bankroll sims or whatever you want to talk about, or any other subject, email me, questions@theoryofdfs.com, and I will cover them on the show. Hit that thumbs up button. Give me those thummy thumbs. We need more likes. We need more subscribes. We don't need notification bells, but it's nice to know when we go live. Programming note, there's going to be no show on Monday. No Monday with McCool. We'll be driving home from Nashville, so we'll not be able to make it, but we'll be back. Right, we're heading into NBA All-Star break, so we've got people. I look at the teams now. I don't know who's on what, and there are a lot of people that are on their old teams. It's like, didn't he used to play for that team? Now they traded for him again. And there's apparently second-round draft picks grow on trees or something. How many second-round draft picks are there? Seems like there's hundreds of them, but we'll be talking about that and other stuff next week because I'm here answering your DFS strategy questions like I always do, Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.